Hi, I'm Tracy Lautomne, and I'll be your host for Connections with Tracy. I'm going to show you how you can eat the cake, drink the good wine, take the trip, get that dream job. I'm going to introduce you to my connections. I'll be on every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. I hope you'll be able to join me. Now on to the show. Hi and welcome. Good evening. I'm Tracy Lautomne and welcome to Connections with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Lautomne. I am so excited. We have a whole studio full of guests today. My very first and special guest is Trish Tacilauskas.
Very good.
I was practicing that for weeks. Trish is a special guest of ours and a friend of the show. She's a matchmaker. Now, I know a bunch of you out there have been calling my phone. I've been getting direct messages on my Facebook, and people are kind of just tired of that dating app and tired of the Hinge and the swiping and the Tinder and the unknown. And from what I understand, Trish kind of gives you baby steps and walks you through the actual matchmaking process and how to find your forever mate. So welcome, Trish.
Thank you. Happy to be here. A majority of our clients are getting away from the dating apps because of all the sketchy people that are out there that pretend like they're actually on these dating apps for the right reasons. And I do believe initially that these dating apps were great. And I think back in the day, the organic, evolution of these dating apps, and I think it was great. And a lot of people did get to meet people, but unfortunately, it's now become a place for people to get swindled, to get ghosted, to get, the folks that are pretending to be who they, want to be, and then when they show up for a date, they're nothing like what they thought. Catfishing. We have stories of married people being on these dating apps, and so when clients come to us, they're finished doing all that work because everyone that we have in our service, we know that they are who they say they are. They're all in the service for the same exact reason. They're all relationship-minded people. We've done background checks on everybody. So
you actually meet them, you know more about them. It's not just like you're putting an algorithm into a computer and hoping that you might match somebody within a 5.2 mile radius.
Right. What we do is, part of our service is we offer a coaching program. And when they are in the coaching program, they are getting all the details, the in-depth background of everything that has gotten them to where they are today. That's part of our matchmaking too, is because we put people that have similar, someone that's very family oriented, that comes from a very close, tight family. We wouldn't want to put them with someone that has zero interest in being with family. It's like you have to kind of match so many aspects of somebody's life that it's more about just not about what they see now, but what they're part of their background, their makeup. So our coaching process does a lot of that it's the real fact finding of each person. And that's where we get all the information. Our coaches really spend a lot of time getting to know these people in every aspect of their life. And then that helps us put together their profiles for when we're putting the matches together.
Now you talk about the coaching process. So people have not been in the dating world and they have to kind of acclimate themselves. The pandemic might have a little something to do with that as well.
Oh, yes. In this
being married for 100 years might have something to do with something and about not getting out there. So coaching is really important.
It's really, really great to help people navigate this new world of dating because it is very different. And a lot of the folks that are coming to our service, this isn't the young people that have grown up with the apps, the Tinder, the Bumbles, the Hinge. This is people that are just getting their feet wet after being married for many years, or perhaps they're widowed. And it's a whole new world out there. And it's also a time where people need to be trained to be humanized again, because we spend so much time hiding behind technology. And like you said, the pandemic was a huge barrier for people interacting organically, sitting down in front of somebody again. And you have to train people, believe it or not. You have to train people how to behave in front of another person, because everybody's so used to hiding behind some source of technology. We try and teach our clients that you don't text for dates. You don't have a relationship over text. And just coaching these folks on how to, interact is a huge part of it.
Wasn't there a rule that their first interaction or their first call could only be a certain amount of time? You didn't want them, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes, and we talk about
Before
this,
they go out on the date.
We talk about this, and when we make our matches, we give them guidelines to go by, and these guidelines are implemented for their success, because we have seen more matches unraveled by not following these guidelines. And the guidelines are simple. You keep your first initial phone call for less than 10 minutes, because this is not the time that you're going to have your date. This isn't the time that you're going to get to know that person. This is a time to call, happy to, we're going to get together, let's set up a time. Then we say, cut it off. No texting, no selfies, nothing before the actual one-on-one date. And that way, the people sit down and they get to know somebody in person. Because texting, you do not know the inflection in somebody's voice. You do not know if they're being sarcastic. And it can get so misread and miscommunicated that it can go south before two people even have met.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree. Sometimes it's easier to pick up a phone. I noticed at work a lot of people just want to email and text, and I'll stand up and walk right over to somebody's desk. And
you're a dinosaur in that aspect, because that's not the norm anymore, because I'm like that as well. And it's very frustrating when you're trying to communicate something with somebody and these texts come in and it's not at all what you're trying to get through. And so that's part of the whole process. And when it's funny, because if they go beyond a certain amount of time on these initial phone calls, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, please don't tell the matchmaker." And
do they both have to say that? Because somebody's going to tell you.
Well, one of them generally does, but they try and kind of, form an
alliance.
Yeah, an alliance, so that nobody, and we're like, you're not going to get in trouble. This is set up for your benefit, not for just because we like to hear ourselves. But if they follow those guidelines, the likelihood that the date is going to happen and go well definitely goes up.
Well, we do have a studio audience, and now that we're talking about single as a Pringle, I was curious, do we have any questions from our studio audience? We have Nicole Bambach, special guest. The only reason I know her is because I created her in my womb. It's my daughter. Say hi.
Hi, how is everyone?
Nicole Bambach, she's here because she actually was an intern in the beginning of time for Brooklyn Cafe, and she had just graduated college, so excited, and her father said, "You got to get a real job." Sorry.
Thanks, Dad.
I know you love that. I know you, and I know you love it, but tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so I am a co-host of TWSS Podcast on Spotify. We talk everything with Marvel, DC, everything entertainment, give reviews, kind of like critics, but we don't get paid. But it's fantastic. I've co-hosted with one of my best friends that lives across the country, so it's a little challenging, but we make it work.
That's
we do
awesome.
it weekly.
And do you have any questions for my matchmaker friend who, as you heard, as she defined herself, was single as a Pringle?
I do actually. So as my best friend likes to state that I have awful taste in men. what would you recommend in that sense? Like, what's the first red flag? What should I avoid? How do I avoid it? What do you recommend?
Well, that's a great question, because of that, a great deal of that is part of the coaching. And what our coaches teach you is to recognize these red flags quickly, instead of much later, where you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, which we all have done. And what that is, you go through because you want a relationship so much that you are trying to make something out of nothing, basically. And actually, one of the things that I would recommend too is one of our coaches, who's fantastic, she wrote a book when she was going through dating and everything. And this book I highly recommend to our single women. It's called Don't Eat the Scraps, and it's basically a book about dating and recognizing red flags and not accepting things just because you're feeling a certain way, but basically learning the red flags sooner than later and not accepting things that do not make you comfortable or do not make you feel good. You can get this book off of Amazon. We also give this to our clients too, because it's such a great, fun, easy, but really a great book for any age. I mean, it is a book geared, younger folks, but I read it and it actually made me go, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And I ended a relationship after I read this book.
Oh, no, this
And
is
all
from
for the better, yes.
one of your coaches.
Yes. That Jules Price, yes. She's done a wonderful job of getting information in a fun way, and you will laugh. You laugh. It's like a movie. You laugh, you cry. It's a really easy but very informative book to read. I'll give it to you.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
All right, well, now you have some fun reading. And we also have an author with us in our studio audience. I would like to introduce Jana. Jana's a friend of Trish's, and we were talking about how she empowers women, and she's a speaker. And if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Jana Lemur, and I'm finishing my first book right now. It's a memoir about my life experience. About 4 years ago, I had a near-death experience, almost lost my life, and spent a week in the hospital with sepsis. And everything was falling apart. I was in toxic relationships after another for about 20 years, and in toxic careers in nursing. I was working around trauma, and I saw so many people dying from cancer and illnesses, and I was getting sick. My health was completely falling apart. And I was really on my knees at that point. I didn't know who I wanted to become. I just felt like my life was completely unraveling. And I knew that I needed a change. And literally 5 months later, I was just getting back from Scotland, and just the jet lag, I couldn't sleep. I came out in my living room and ended up having a spiritual awakening. It took me 3 months to know what that was, because I didn't know what happened. But in an instant, I literally saw God. I saw my own divinity. I saw a book floating on the right side, and it was a book that I had written. And when I looked straight ahead, I was speaking on stage. I just began to weep because it was totally divine, and it changed my life in an instant. And I just thought this was the first time my life was being realized. And it was overwhelming and amazing at the same time. And in about an instant, I felt this blanket of peace come over my body. And it was nothing human, because I had grown up very anxious and worrisome with the world on my shoulders, just trying to change the world for a better place. And I didn't really know peace. I hadn't until that moment. And that spiritual awakening really shifted everything for me. And I knew in my heart that I was meant to really make a difference in this world. And that's when I started writing my book, and I started working with women and really helping empower them step into their power and their purpose, and knowing how amazing that they are on a spiritual level. And that's what I'm here to do, not just for women, really for all souls, but I feel right now really drawn to help women and just empower them to be incredible amazing people that they already are.
Well, on that note, we have to book her for the next show because I have a feeling it's a whole nother 30 minutes. I need more. I mean, you can't just give me that and leave me hanging.
I know,
that's an incredible story.
It's intense, yeah.
And your book's coming along?
It's coming along. It should be done in about 30 to 45 days. And then...
Do you have yourself on a schedule?
Yeah, I do. I have myself on a schedule, and then I'll be looking for an agent to represent me, and then looking for a publication to pick up my book. So I'm really excited.
Well, you're kind of like in the heart of, I mean, these people know a lot of authors, published authors that are part of this show also. So if you're listening, we need somebody to come help edit, publish, and represent. So give us a jingle. How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, so Jana Lemur, www.JanaLemur.com. Feel free to reach out to me there, or janalemur@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear from you. And also for all the women out there, I'd love to share, I'm creating my first Oracle deck right now.
That's crazy.
It is powerful, it is divine, it is absolutely amazing, and it's taken me about 6 months to create. So I'll be finished in about 30 days, and I'm just so blessed to be releasing that when my book comes out. And I know it's going to change lives. It really will. It's changed my life. So
I really want to see what your outlook looks like. You know, she wakes up, breakfast, workout, okay, work on Oracle cards, okay, rest, lunch, work on book, okay, go do a radio show with some random person I haven't met yet, connections with Tracy, and that's what it's all about. You have connections with Tracy. It just happens. You put it out in the universe. I'm telling you, somehow, some way, something's going to come about this. So I so appreciate you coming. You don't need a matchmaker. I hear you're happily married.
I am. During that time, I met the love of my life. I didn't think it was possible for me, honestly. I had completely given up on love. And that really was heartbreaking because I really wanted it in my life since I was a really young child. So finding the love of my life, it's his birthday today, actually.
Happy birthday.
Yes. So glad he's alive and that he's changed my life. So very blessed.
All right, well, I hope you're making dinner or going
Yes.
reservations.
Yes,
or
making dinner tonight.
Okay.
Exactly.
All his favorites?
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect, just checking. All right, so I saw another book over there. So is there
Speaking of
another
books,
book that you want to
You know,
share?
I
as
think another part of what we try and get people tuning into is their actual love language. And I know this book has been around a lot, but we highly recommend that our clients read this book. And I'll say this, and I say it from experience, that when I was married, I thought I had a wonderful marriage. I did not know that I was not speaking my husband's love language and he was not speaking mine. We were kind of going along and doing things that we thought were making each other happy. He was a wonderful provider, but he was working all the time. But the reality of it is my love language is quality time. And
can you define the 5 love languages? Because I know people have their different love languages, and like you said, yours was...
Mine is quality time. It's quality time, words of affirmation, there's acts of service, there's gifts. And if you're not tuned into what your love language or your partner's love language is, you could have 2 great people that are trying desperately to make each other happy, but if they're not actually understanding what it is, you could bring me flowers and cards and this, but what I really want from you is for you to take the trash out. It's as simple as that. You know, you can be so completely enamored when someone does something as little as that, you know, and, you know, just last week, my boyfriend, I came home from dinner with my girlfriends, and when I came home, he had put love cards all over the house in the places that I go to the most. One was where the ice cream is, and one was where I get my face products out. And it was so amazing to me because that's a first. You know, it was just that those kind little gestures that mean so much to someone. I don't need expensive jewelry. I don't need, you know, what I need is little things like that. And, You know, he makes me coffee in the morning. And those things are my love language. And I did not realize it until I was much older. And I am a huge proponent of people understanding their partner's love language and their own love language. And not only understanding it, talking about it with their partner. I love that you work so hard, but what I would really love is for you to work a little less and let's just have a nice date night. Doesn't have to be a big expensive dinner out. Let's just, the two of us, go over to the beach with a bottle of wine and just spend some quality time together. Those things really get lost. And when that happens, that's when relationships, or even, you know, whether they're new relationships or relationships that are seasoned, come apart. Definitely.
Is it hard to date a matchmaker?
You know what? It isn't, because I have learned so much about myself through my experiences with divorce, and my experiences with dating, and my experiences with knowing who I am, that I used to be kind of passive in the sense that I'm not going to tell you that this does not work for me. But I communicate so much better now and in such a calmer way, instead of things building up and keeping things inside. Yes. And I'm also able to take different experiences and I'm able to look at it from a different perspective. So it's kind of easier for me to be with someone because I hear so much from our clients. And you know, you're not only a matchmaker, you're counseling, you're doing a lot of, you know, kind of like a psychologist to a certain degree.
Talk about getting out of your own way.
That's so important, and that is a phrase I probably use on the daily, because people have preconceived ideas of what they're supposed to be doing and who they're supposed to be with, and getting them to get out of their own way and see that it has not worked for them in the past, so it's not going to be the thing that's going to work for them in the future. Getting them out of their own way is getting them to see that they've been making some, I won't say mistakes, but the things that they've been doing.
So sorry. It's important, I'm sure.
You want to take that?
Yeah, no.
The things that they have been doing, it's kind of like you keep repeating them. What is that? You keep doing something over and over, and it's just, that's what the idea of insanity is. You've got to change your pattern, get out of your own way, and start accepting some advice and some new ways of thinking about things. And that's a huge part of becoming successful in a matchmaking service.
And that's the team. That's you and your team, between your coaches, between what you do, between what the owner of the company.
All of us work together.
There's two owners.
Two owners, yes, Stephen Ward and Joanne Ward. And they've been in this business for so long. They're so well versed and so knowledgeable about these things. And, you know, they had that show, Tough Love. And Tough Love is a lot to do with it. And it's you know, it's not being tough and talking tough. It's giving them the hard cheese about things. And hey, you're wrong. If you keep doing things like this, you're going to get the same outcome. Get out of your own way. Listen to people that have experience and knowledge in this. And they have had such a wonderful, long time career in this, and they're so good at it. And there's so much success from their expertise that we all work together. And if we really need to bring in the top dog we'll get Joanne or Stephen on the phone.
How do they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of us. I put up a phone number for them to reach us, or you can even email me at trish@mastermatchmaker.com. But we're all there to answer any questions. All of us together, we make ourselves available to everybody. Even when you're out of coaching, you still have your coaches to work with throughout your matchmaking journey.
Well, I can't thank my guests enough. We're here on Tuesday nights. I am your host, Tracy Lautomne with Connections with Tracy. A big shout out to my daughter, Nicole Bambach. And Jana, thank you so much. I can't wait to get my Oracle cards. I am going to pre-order on Amazon as well as your book, because I am a huge proponent of making sure that my friends get my other friends involved also. So we're going to get you out on the circuit And if there's anybody out there that would like to help her, and please reach out. Connections with Tracy, we're here every Tuesday night. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, stay connected and tune in to Connections with Tracy.